Cleaner, or Daisy Ridley having a bit of a diehard, as I will insist on calling it, is an odd choice of topic for a YouTube review video, in that not only is it fuck awful, but it's also a film that almost no one has watched. As far as I can tell, in the UK at least, it didn't receive a theatrical release, and now can only be found streaming on Sky Cinema, meaning it's hidden behind two separate paywalls. It's so hidden and underwatched that I'm certain that someone at Sky has flagged the fact that I've watched this thing 3 times. So why make a video about it? Why watch it 3 times? It's 3.5 actually. Well, it's just fucking odd, and I feel compelled to talk about it with someone. Anyone. So, I'm just going to assume that you haven't seen it. Because no one has. On paper, Daisy Ridley, having a bit of a diehard, has such potential. Yet the filmmakers almost stubbornly refuse to take advantage of any of it, repeatedly setting up scenarios just to abandon what they're doing and do something else, something worse. A good example of that is in the poster. Just look at this thing. It's fucking awesome. Look at that, Daisy Ridley falling backwards through the air, firing a gun into the sky while a helicopter watches on in awe from the background. This thing's a symphony. The Dutch angle, the pleasant evening, the squeegee hanging from her hip. It's fucking majestic. Then there's the description, from the director of Casino Royale. Take my money. Well, Sky Cinema already does, but the sentiment is the same. And Clive Owen is in this? I haven't seen that motherfucker since he was faffing around on Valerian and the Planet of 1,000 whatever the fucks. Press play. And then, an almost completely unrelated film starts playing. I mean, Daisy Ridley's in it, but my god, none of this shit happens. Cleaner follows Daisy Ridley, an ex-soldier turned window cleaner who's strapped to the side of a building as eco-wrong'uns storm the corporate party inside and instigate a die-hard situation. You see, the building belongs to some energy company, who are outwardly all sweetness and kisses about sustainability and ecological responsibility, but are actually a bunch of cunts who couldn't give 2 shits about the environment and frequently dump those 2 shits on seagulls, who, already soaked in oil, are having a bit of a mare of it. So our eco-terrorists crash the company's shareholder circle jerk, disguised as a theatre troupe that's been hired to perform at the event. This is where we get to pause the movie and guess what happens next. Perhaps the terrorists, disguised as performers, perform a piece that's all movement and symbolism and everyone in attendance blindly admires it, oohing and ahhing even though they don't understand any of it. But they're rich, and art's for rich people, right? But then it turns out they're pulling a Hamlet, and the play is the thing in which they'll catch the conscience of the king, and their performance starts to reference some of the crook shit the company and its CEO Dick Sleeve brothers have done, and everyone starts oohing and ahhing a little bit more awkwardly because they get it, but they're not sure they get it. The performance then reaches its crescendo, Brechtian-esque footage of all the company's crimes play unvarnished on the wall as the CEO brothers move to stop the performance, pulling the players from the stage only to get pistol whipped in the chops as the terrorists reveal their true identity. Holy shit, it's Clive Owen. That would have been kind of sick. Don't get me wrong, it's unnecessarily elaborate, but the film has established that they're dressed as performers and they're supposed to perform something. Why not do this? Why don't they do this? Instead, though they turn up to the building in costume, they arrive late, and they've missed the opening performance, so they just hang out at the event and enjoy the open bar whilst momentarily flirt with the idea of being dicks for no reason. It's at this point it's revealed that some of the terrorists are working the party, and one of them's been moonlighting as one of Daisy Ridley's window cleaning chums. Also, it's a residential building, with families and shit, so presumably they could have accessed the building as fucking Deliveroo drivers. So why do this ink and mask bollocks? Why set any of it up if it's A, unnecessary, and B, you're not gonna fucking use it? You may notice at this point that I haven't mentioned Daisy Ridley in a while. You know, the main character of the film. There's a reason for that, so bear with me. The leader of our ne'er-do-wells is Clive Owen. Welcome home, son.
Talk about shooting your load.
Who has knockout gassed the rest of the building while keeping key hostages awake and lucid so that he can compile their misdeeds whilst recording and broadcasting their confessions to the world. Now, pausing for a moment, we could game out the film's potential plot based on what's been set up so far. Our eco boys, like their real-life counterparts, have lofty, even noble goals. But again, like their real-life counterparts, have gone about it in such an arse-backwards manner, they've probably done more damage to their cause than to help it. So, while they have taken hostages, Marcus, whose name's quite on point by the way, doesn't intend to kill anyone, though one of his boys does go off script early doors. It is, however, pointed out that the company and our CEO brothers have in the past had their private security kill activists to cover up their polluting ways. So with that specifically set up, what's to stop them from doing it now? Perhaps one of the brothers gets loose and gives their security a call, and if they're not in the building already, they could infiltrate the building disguised as police. The film's already set up this guy in the police command downstairs as head of the SWAT team, who seems a bit shifty and doesn't give a fuck what his commanding officers think, so maybe he could help facilitate this. Anyway, once the private security is inside, Daisy Ridley, when she decides to fucking turn up in this film, could start working with them, believing them to be the police or the legitimate building security, only to get caught in the middle when she realises that they're far more concerned about concealing the truth and protecting these two fucks than they are about rescuing the hostages. Clive Owen may have started out as the bad guy, but what if these guys are fucking worse? And now our eco-boy is as much a hostage as anyone else, and realising the error of his ways forms an uneasy alliance with Daisy Ridley to rescue the hostages from this new threat and get the truth about these fucks out to the world, preferably with some sort of noble sacrifice. That'd be alright. Do they do any of that? Well, one of our CEOs manages to get loose and do a runner. Side note, there are several points where they run between floors, and despite the party being halfway up the tower, the floor numbers are clearly painted on the wall. Anyway, as I said, the big boy here does a runner. Does he call for help? Well, no. Despite being able to run to any point in the building that he owns, he just runs to his own suite, the same room he was found in the beginning, and they find him there again by just walking fairly leisurely after him. Marcus's second in command, Noah, they're nailing it with these activist names, then stages a coup, stating that
nobody's listening to you, Marcus.
Even though they've only just started. Noah is hilariously an anti-humanist and assumably a part-time barista. And he has other plans in mind, chiefly to blow up the entire building and everyone in it, making martyrs of them all. Clive Owen calls shenanigans on Barista Boy, but instead of slapping the soy latte out of him, immediately gets murked like a fucking chump. And that's Clive Owen out of the movie. He's been in this thing for 15 minutes. Not screen time, run time. I can only assume his fee for this was bus fare home. Anyway, the barista's in charge now, and he wants to kill everyone, and himself, which he could do at any time, but instead dicks around for the rest of the movie, waxing on about how humanity's doomed because we let the world burn, whilst also calling for the world to burn, which is a bit of a mixed message. He also pulls random quotes out of his arse. This one's his favourite.
All flesh is just grass. All people are like grass, and all flesh is grass. All flesh is grass.
Thanks, Buddha.
It's actually from the Bible. The point is, he just fucks around for no other reason than literally waiting for Daisy Ridley to finally turn up and have a bit of a diehard. So, where's Daisy Ridley at? Daisy starts her day waking up like she's in a 90s sitcom and is already late for work, even though she wakes up when her alarm goes off. She set it. Anyway, she's going to be even later because she has to go pick up her autistic brother who's being kicked out of his care home, and actually played by an autistic actor, so well done movie, you did something right. Then her motorbike doesn't start because she's still stuck in a sitcom, so she has to take the bus, all while her employer, who she repeatedly calls a dick, keeps messaging her, insisting that she comes to her place of employment like employees are supposed to. You know, like a dick. But sitcom rules strike again, and she gets on the wrong bus, something her brother notices but doesn't point out until the bus is already moving and they're in the middle of a conversation about Piers Morgan for some reason.
Piers Morgan is an attention-seeking, the worst word.
Well, Piers Morgan wouldn't have got on the wrong bus.
Arriving for work, she dumps her brother in the foyer while she goes up top, acts like an ass to her boss, and has a tender moment with a photograph of her brother, even though we've just seen him. He's downstairs. She then jumps off the edge of the building to get all George Formby up in this motherfucker. Q are eco-terrorists who crash the party, take everyone hostage, strap bombs to them, and force them to confess publicly to all the shit they ne'er did well. Now, while they're inside getting handsy, you'd think, based on the poster and the opening scene where young Daisy Ridley is urban climbing her way around the kitchen, that she would spend the rest of the film Spider-Manning her way around the building, diving through windows and murking fools before diving back out again so she can Gwen Stacy her way around the other side so she can razzle some other cunts. You'd think that's what would happen, and you'd watch the shit out of that if they had made that movie, instead of this one. What we get instead is Daisy stuck on a window washing cradle on the outside of the building for most of the film. The film is 1 hour and 40 minutes long, and bearing in mind that the credits are a solid 10 minutes of that and the epilogue is another 5, at what point in the hour 25 change do you think Daisy Ridley gets back into the building so she can have a bit of a diehard? One hour 10. The main character, the lass on the poster, does fuck all for 1 hour and 10 minutes. She then does 15 minutes worth of dieharding, which she does in 3 short fight sequences, all of which are set in the same room. Fuck all may be a bit harsh actually, she does drop a sponge over the side at one point, which brains some innocent passerby on the street. It's the best part of the movie. So what is she doing for all the rest of the time? Well, for the most part she just hangs about in the cradle, wandering back and forth, unsure what to do. On a couple of occasions she climbs up and down the cable to try and get to the roof, and manages to pass important rooms just as important stuff is happening. It's worth mentioning that she can only move vertically, not horizontally, so all of these locations are perfectly aligned with the cable she's attached to, which is handy. And she's not trying to get to these locations just so that she can keep an eye on developments inside. This stuff just happens to take place as she's passing. Noah does know that she's outside, because he knows her, they're friends. He's this guy wearing a beanie in an earlier scene, something I didn't notice until the second viewing. Anyway, they have multiple conversations through the insulated glass of a London skyscraper like it's nothing. They do this quite a lot actually, and it's unclear whether or not they're wearing earpieces, but Michael definitely isn't, and he does it too. What else is her brother doing? Nothing. He's in the building and he helps out with a bit of hacking towards the end, but other than that, he has almost zero relevance to anything that's happening in the film. It's weird. But back to the glass. How thick is it? Well, it varies. They fire bullets through the glass at several points, and Noah yeets Clive Owen's dead body out the window fairly easily, therefore leaving a way for Daisy to get into the building. Does she take it? Nope. She just stands there for a bit. Later, in an effort to get rid of her, they lower a bomb down on a bit of string. From the director of Casino Royale. And she finally Spider-Mans her way around the corner to avoid the blast, which blows a hole in the side of the building that she could use to get inside. Does she? No. Finally, having enough of the night air, and it's proper nighttime by the way, not the pleasant evening this lying bastard promised, Daisy asks the police to shoot the glass so she can get inside. But it doesn't break the glass, so she spends a solid 5 minutes stabbing the bullet holes with a knife whilst telling the chief of police her sad backstory. Then her brother just breaks the glass with his bare hands and pulls her inside. Fucking finally. Can we have a bit of a Die Hard now, please? Oh, the movie ended. God damn it. So, that's Daisy Ridley having a bit of a Die Hard, a film that I honestly believe should be preserved for future generations, as lesson and warning. Every home should have a copy, as punishment for wayward children, and a signal to house guests that they're no longer welcome. A film so genuinely awful, I feel actual concern for those involved. A film so bad, I now feel I was too harsh on G20, itself a Die Hard clone. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with Die Hard clones. There's been a ton of them in the past. Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a train, Die Hard on a plane. In fact, we discussed this in great detail on our podcast Trope on a Rope, which you can find wherever quality pods are cast. Die Hard on a different plane, Die Hard on a mountain, Die Hard at the G20. In fact, there's an old episode of TNG where they have a bit of a Die Hard. They've got phasers and force fields, but no, Picard goes round kneecapping bitches with a crossbow. It's awesome. So Daisy Ridley, have at it. You have a bit of a Die Hard, love. But not like this. You're better than this. I know Disney did you dirty, Daisy. They promised you the world and then they served you turds, then greased you up and threw you in the sea. But that's over now. You can do it, mate. I'm rooting for you. The problem with Daisy Ridley having a bit of a Die Hard, like a lot of movies that are made for streaming these days, it feels that they got the first draft of the script and just ran with that. One issue is that back in the day, writers worked on movies during production, making changes as needed. But that was expensive, so now studios, particularly streaming studios, get rid of writers almost as soon as the script is handed in and just have at it from there. Are there mistakes? We'll find it during shooting, or editing, or fuck it, throw it on streaming, no one will give a shit. Because films aren't meant to be films anymore. They're content, which is depressing.